The Public Affairs Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 29th, 2024 will begin at 8 p.m. Tonight. So we've already had our silent meditation and pledge, so we'll skip that and move on to the roll call. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Roll call. Chair will not be in tonight. Lightfoot Ward. Martin, Vice Chair.
Present.
Member Urbom.
Present.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christia Lu, Village Manager, and in for Joseph Geller, Attorney Elbert.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to subsection E, good and welfare. Does anyone in the audience have a comment? Now would be the time to step up to the podium. You can state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, I will move. Did I skip approval of the agenda? Yes, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Okay.
Oh, okay, I second, I guess.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, hearing none, we moved on to good and welfare. We didn't have anyone who wanted to step up to the podium. We'll move on to the subsection F, which is agenda item, and we have just a general review. So, as you can tell, I am not your usual chair, but I will say that public affairs is all about engaging our stakeholders. And as far as from my office, we have made some strides to enhance that. One of the things that we've recently done is created a public affairs committee, and that public affairs committee will be meeting soon and be talking about all sorts of wonderful ways that we can partner with nonprofits and the greater community to bring great programming to the Village of El Portal. One such programming item was our Santa gift delivery, which last year was a tremendous hit, and we are thinking of ways to scale that up this year. In addition to that, we're talking about some really great initiatives that might impact our business community and just keep us more connected. The idea is to connect us all to each other and to this great village that we live in, because we are all neighbors, and I'm sure that we can benefit tremendously from being more connected to each other. So those are tidbits of things to look out for. If anyone wants to participate in that arts committee or the Commission on the Arts and hasn't had an opportunity to, you can always send me an email to be included. And if you have any questions or thoughts on ways that we can really engage our residents, that would be awesome. Send them my way. So that is the entirety of my comments. Does anyone on the council have comments?
I don't tonight.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone from, this is our second good and welfare. We'll move on to subsection G. Does anyone from the audience have additional comment, question, concern, desire to say anything? All right, Mr. Pulliam, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. The cat overpopulation here. What, if anything, can we do as a government unit or public affairs to kind of deal and mitigate that issue? For myself, who've lived here just under 3 years, there's been 4, 5, 6 cats who always come by. I ended up adopting all of them because I do love them. It's a huge expense to spay and neuter if you're going to a private vet. I have seen there are some organizations, that will go around and do catch and release. Has Village of El Portal ever had a catch and release program? Has anyone ever looked into that? Can public affairs possibly take that on?
So I will admit, I don't know that much about cats, but I do think that the clerk has some maybe historic knowledge on this.
We had a resident who actually was, she's very much Frances Siegel. She actually did that for a while. I'm not sure if the mayor remembers that, but she did take it upon herself to actually start like a mini program due to that.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Please.
Yeah, she doesn't do that anymore. She doesn't do it anymore. Yeah, it's really difficult because the county used to provide that, but they no longer do. They stopped.
Yeah, I know it's not just an El Portal issue.
Yeah, it's not. It's a
big
countywide.
issue here
it's
as
a big
well.
issue. They just don't. They don't need any more. It's difficult because the only way now that other municipalities do it is that they just have it in their budget to where they hire a private company to come in and catch them. But that's just expensive, and we just don't. It's not budgeted. We just don't currently have it budgeted for that. But that's the way that other municipalities do it. They just have a private, the same way we have a company that comes out and cuts our trees, or we have a company that, they just have a private company that they just do that. So that's the way other people do it.
But we can stay engaged and we can look out and see whether or not these companies can provide us with a quote so we know what the number is, right? And if it is indeed cost prohibitive for us. But in addition to that, since this is something that you care about and are knowledgeable of, maybe you could send an email with some resources. I'll look on my end and see if there are resources that I'm able to seek out as to whether or not someone does provide this service and would be willing to at low or no cost. And then we can kind of engage in a conversation back and forth. And if there's some sort of informational sheet that needs to be put out to alert everybody on best practices as it relates to these cats, that's definitely something for us to do. So how about this? You look on your end, I'll look on my end. I will also try to get a quote, and then we can kind of put that as something to follow up on the next Public Affairs Committee meeting.
Yeah, I'd love that 100%.
Sounds
I'm
good.
Open to doing that, and perhaps maybe that could even be part of what you were mentioning earlier, getting involved with philanthropies or,
Yeah, for sure.
a lot of these programs that they are nonprofits.
For sure. And there are a lot of nonprofits that want to engage with the municipality or provide, and a lot of the residents in El Portal are already very active with nonprofits or have passions, and I would love to connect those residents so that we can see what beautiful things can become from those synergies. So since cats are something that you are passionate about, I would love to hear your thoughts, and maybe some other residents that
Not
are
exactly, but they're all
similarly
over the
interested.
place. So
Yes.
it's
Well-
it's an issue for me, and I know a lot of residents and my neighbors. So
Sometimes your passion finds you. So this might be the case. But if you know some other people that are also worried about something, this would be a great opportunity for you guys to come together, brainstorm some things, approach us with those possibilities, and we can see how we can formalize them or incorporate them into something that the village is already doing.
okay, and what is the budget, the approved budget, upcoming, or I guess currently for public affairs, right?
Nothing.
0. So okay.
Close. I don't know.
Yeah, for public affairs, we have it overlaps. So it's not really for public affairs, but currently it shows 20,000.
Okay.
But that 20,000 is there because it's related to the State of the Village address and Arbor Day, which State of the Village address we have to have per charter. Arbor Day we have to have to remain a Tree City USA. It's difficult to explain, but yeah, it's there, but it's kind of allocated for, accounted for, yeah, in
Okay.
a way.
And the desire was also with the villagers in mind. I remember that meeting where we kind of slashed that budget because we said, hey, we don't necessarily want to be in the business of event planning or execution or management. There are some cities out here that spend tremendous amounts of money on events and activities that either their residents cannot afford to attend, their residents are not attending, but these are more vanity projects. What we have done is said, hey, if we are going to bring quality programming to the village, what we're going to do is tax ourselves to create meaningful partnerships and see how we can execute these events or partnerships at low or no cost to the villagers. So I commend us on what we have been able to do with no budget. I do think the opportunity for partnerships are really strong and out there, and a lot of our villagers are already very engaged with organizations, and at least on that Arts Council have brought forth the possibilities of some really cool partnerships for us. So look out for what we're able to do, and I really think that we are putting in the extra effort so that we can create that sense of place and uniqueness of El Portal without using our tax dollars.
I don't know what that means because we've allocated 20,000 of our tax dollars for it.
That's for two specific events, right? Arbor Day
Oh, you mean
and
outside of that?
outside
Okay,
of that.
got it.
I do not plan Arbor Day, but I do think that that's something that we have to do. I'm talking about the Santa gift delivery that we did last year. I'm talking about some of the other things that we are going to do surrounding arts and public spaces and places with some huge organizations that have very big names and influence in our community. And I think it's something for us to be proud of. And the effort that we all individually put in here, I do want to say this. This is not a like a paid job. I mean, we do get like, I think it's like $200 or something like that.
3,000 a year.
3,000 a year. Yes, most of the time we don't pick up our checks. I think everyone here is passionate about creating a better village, and at least for my efforts, when I say kudos, I don't say it out of vanity. I say it because we really are trying to do a lot with a little. So yes, it's not $20,000, and I don't think I've ever spent any money here in the village, although I do have money that I think I could spend on like shirts or something.
Yes, you
Yes.
have a stipend or a discretionary.
Yeah,
use,
and I've
but
never
you all
spent
use that for your.
Yes, out of that discretionary fund, because it's just my position that there's a way to leverage partnerships to create some of the initiatives that you would like to under public affairs. So yes, that's what I'm trying to do, and I know that budgetary item is there, but I have never personally used any of those funds, and I don't plan to use them in the programming that I'm discussing. Now, as far as whether or not other members of the Public Affairs Committee, I'm not the chair, desire to do so, who knows? But as for me, that's my position on it.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. That's great to know. And I mean, I don't think there's a lot of wiggle room in the budget, but hearing, there's discretionary funds that are not used, why is that not put to use for something like a spay and neuter program? And also, is that even within the realm of public affairs, or is spay and neuter, really fit somewhere else?
Would it be code?
Well, spay and neuter program might fit either under public safety or it could in theory fit under public affairs. I know it's something that we've discussed in the past. We used to have a somewhat of an option to at least direct residents to, but presently there's not. So I will say about public affairs in the past, as I came out of the council, public affairs was used almost explicitly for PR campaigns from former administration. And so I came from, background in essentially entertainment and event production, things like this, hospitality, all the rest. So for me, it seemed normal that there would be events around the village, but honestly, I feel like I've grown in my capacity to understand what public affairs really should be used for, and it seems like the path that Dr. Lightfoot Ward and Councilperson Martin are on with public affairs seems to be a much more productive, much more beneficial avenue for the village in the long run, as opposed to the way it used to be ran. As far as Arbor Day specifically, that is part of one of the requirements we meet essentially to maintain our Tree Status USA, our Tree City USA status. And I will say, as the chair of that board, or at least former chair of that board, that very little money was usually spent on those events. The bulk of the cost from the grant that we got to essentially run that event was for acquisition of plants that would be given away to residents so that they could do planting. We had a nominal budget for tent, chair rentals, that type of thing. And the Women's Club of El Portal usually was critical in as far as like volunteer manpower and things like that, up to and including marketing for the event. To have that go well. So the Arbor Day Festival has usually been pretty low budget in terms of overall output. I think I did it one year with a budget of 500, but typically it was about 1,000, somewhere in there. 1,500, I think, was the highest amount that I remember the village specifically putting out as far as like a budgeted line item for that event. I know there's other monies coming in from the grant, but again, those typically are going towards the acquisition of the trees for the residents to be able to take with them and plant. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I
Sure,
can.
Mr. Councilman.
I'm not in the committee, but just to add, in light of the engagement with the community and all of that, same thing with me and the discretionary funds that we allocate. We get to try to use or to use in public, affairs, events or stuff like that. We never use it. We always, kind of like give it back to the village so they allocate the monies and somewhere else. This year I decided to actually go ahead and do this little program, and it's free yoga for families and stuff. Unfortunately, I haven't have a lot of engagement with residents. Surprisingly, because it's a wellness kind of program, I thought it was gonna be it's something nice and cool to do. So the program was is running for 4 weeks, 4 Sundays. This past Sunday was the second one. Like I said, unfortunately, not a lot of resident has showed up, but the little ones that had actually showed up had said, how wonderful that was, and that it felt like $1,000,000. Having something like that in your community or in your village, because we are a municipality. We're not an enclosed community. So I thought by using those funds for now to do something like that will be great. So hopefully more residents will join this Sunday. It's at 9:30 a.m. And the instructor she's wonderful. So we have it here at the top lot. But yeah, it was something like that. It's something to Council Martin said. It's all about engagement with the community and residents, and that's hopefully we don't lose that here, because it seems I came here to the village with that sense of community and talking to your neighbors and rely sometimes on your neighbors, and knowing actually the name of more than 7 your closest neighbors is just awesome. So I just want to throw it out there. Thank you.
I will say this. I think it's an awesome program. Me and my little ones will be there this Sunday, and just because it wasn't as well attended as you wanted it to be doesn't mean that it isn't going to be. I think sometimes it takes a while for the word to come out, but we're definitely coming out this Sunday, and I think it's a great program. And hopefully we see other programs like it. I think a big part in lowering the temperature as it relates to certain things is creating environments where people can just connect on different topics that aren't about a budget or a job description or something, just about something that they enjoy, so they can kind of get to know their neighbors. And it's also a great way to exchange ideas about things. So I look forward to being there on Sunday. Any other, Mr.
Just
Pulliam?
one follow-up. So
Sure.
with the, and it's a financial question, so the discretionary budgets, when it's not used, or like the 20K that's allocated for public affairs, if all of that is not used, where does that go? What becomes of that?
Mr. Taubenfeld? Oh,
It
sorry.
just folds over. It's use it or lose it, but it folds over. You don't keep, like, for example, if you don't keep use your discretionary fund, it's not like next year discretionary fund is added to it, but it just stays the same, so it's use it or lose it.
Yeah, so
But it
what does that
stays-
mean? It's in the village's savings account?
It just stay within the budget.
And it's
yeah.
paying down our loans and debts, or what's becoming of it?
Well,
Well, it has to be budgeted. Well, it depends on what's budgeted for the next year, right?
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead.
So, for example, with my discretionary income, near the end of the year, I'll essentially, mayor usually has some kind of project that he's working on. So I might contribute part of my discretionary to whatever project the mayor has in mind that might need more than just simply his discretionary, right? I do try to reserve a significant amount of discretionary each year to give to the Little River Conservancy. I've just known them for a while. They're one of my favorite organizations that work directly in Upper Tal, and they essentially have a constant need for specifically sensors that they place all throughout the C7 canal. So they typically have what I give them is not, a significant amount of money. I think my discretionary is $2,000 a year. And so we're not talking about, massive amounts of money here, but regardless, that's where I try to direct mine, because it is my own, personal interest. It's a local organization that benefits the village, and I know that they have a constant need that way. So it would be, any resident could essentially, petition any individual council member, call, text, email, that type of thing, to say, hey, I have this organization in mind. They could do X, Y, and Z with certain amount of hundreds of dollars. Would any of those be available from your discretionary account? So, I mean, it is at the discretion of the council members.
Okay.
Sometimes the mayor will say, I have this project, and ask if anybody has any remaining discretionary and would they be willing to contribute it. I typically will do something like that, but for me personally, the Little River Conservancy, specifically for sensors in the C7 canal, is usually where I direct my discretionary income.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear, because it worries me when I hear a comment of just like you use it or you lose it. It's like it's our tax dollars that we're paying into
Yeah,
it. It doesn't just disappear.
It doesn't go back to like the bank account, or like it doesn't go back to like the ether of
It exists somewhere.
Of money,
and,
yeah.
and it's almost
And
never.
when we need things, whether it's spay and neuter or whatever.
It's not really ever
we know
lost.
the village needs copious amount of things, so it worries me when I hear
no, it stays
you
within.
use it or lose
It
it.
stays within the village.
Okay, so it's reallocated.
And it's almost
Okay.
never lost, because there is usually at least some discussion of, okay, what is left and what can
Yeah.
we get done with it. So
And when does that discussion usually happen? I guess before the budget meetings?
yeah,
Or-
typically around that time, honestly, because the clock is counting down at that point. The money would need to be spent, or at least distributed by the end of September 30th. And so
Okay.
July, August, September is typically when the mayor might be reaching out to say, does anybody have discretionary left? And this is what I'm trying to do. So yeah, that kind of July, August, September, Q4 of our fiscal calendar.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I? please?
Sure.
I just want to give some historic background, too,
Please.
about what you're discussing about this spay and neuter project. I do recall that in the past, a member of the council did give money to Miss Francis
worked
for her
Okay.
spay and neutering. Also, in terms of animal help, we don't do animal control. We have one person in Public Works, or me and this one person on the day-to-day, and we have a part-time Public Works director. But prior to last year of him even being here, we didn't have any kind of animal control. Miami-Dade County was called upon to do that, and when they dropped the program, we have we have to figure out how to get the animals out of the street. But we have peacocks, and that has been an expense to us too, to keep them healthy. We've had to have vets come out, and your normal vet is not going to come take care of a peacock. We have to call someone who's bringing a mobile station. It's not cheap. So we want them to stay healthy, because
That's another good point. I noticed the peacock population has really exploded the last couple of years as well.
Oh,
And it's also
absolutely.
like, do we even have food, in the village for all these animals?
Well, we cannot feed them. We're not to feed the animals any human food. If you see people feeding peacocks, please tell them not to do that. We have signs up. And I remember former councilperson Dreyer, who was here tonight, really pushed that we tell people don't feed the peacocks because it is unhealthy for them to eat.
But I guess they're not spayed or neutered either.
No, they're not. We just don't have that kind of budget, and we can't catch them, and we don't have the staff to do that. But also, they're not considered, like the Seabird Station would not take them if they're injured or hurt. They're not going to come spay and neuter them. They have to go to a specialized vet that is in West Palm Beach. So they come down.
wow.
That's costly. So
Okay. And
if
what
we-
is the county program that was discontinued?
just to pick up injured or dead animals, or to take them to the humane, animal, any kind of stray or any kind of animal that's out of place, that's not spoken for, not owned
It's like a
by-
dog catcher?
Yeah, they don't do that anymore,
Okay.
sadly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, I will move on to subsection H, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn this evening's Public Affairs Committee meeting?
You do.
And do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that adjourns the Public Affairs Committee meeting. It is currently 8:24 p.m.